The Florida Podcast Network, the voice of Florida.
This is episode 13A of the Finding Florida podcast on the Florida Podcast Network, Finding Florida's first anniversary and Oktoberfest of the Palm Beaches, the preview.
Welcome to Finding Florida, the podcast that takes you from country to the coast. Join your tour guides, an unlikely pair, city girl Jemmy and country boy Glenn, as they explore the amazing sights and sounds of the Sunshine State.
Thank you for joining us on this lead up to our 13th adventure of the Finding Florida podcast. We celebrated our first anniversary of the show all over South Florida, and we had a really fun time.
Yeah, we did. I'm so proud of us. Yay, our first anniversary. Woohoo. So all of the audio from that fun adventure of eating one of the biggest burgers we've ever seen, Glenn stumbling through an interview with 3 beauty queens.
Hey.
That's right. He was a little distracted, guys. And a special surprise, I put it in quotes, air quotes, from Glenn to me will be on the next episode, 13B. And it really was a super fun anniversary trip. In fact, here are a few quick clips of us just kind of losing our minds. So I'm still on pins and needles waiting to see where we're going.
So do you have any idea?
I don't.
Turn right onto Florida Mango Road.
Apparently she does, but I don't.
Yes! Oh, she's done it. We have a new pro on the block.
That's pretty good there, buddy. The drinks have funny names. The food has funny names.
My drink is called Sister Shove It Up Yo Ass. It's our anniversary.
It is our anniversary.
And they're going to meet us
Yay!
here for partying. And
Happy anniversary to us. Happy first.
Happy anniversary. And let's go have some
I still
money
enjoy
more.
traveling with you after a year. Amazing.
You do annoy me, but we work through it. Ready? And chug, 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 Emily!
But on this episode, we're talking about the history of Florida's German culture and Oktoberfest celebrations. And then we get into a whole bunch of other fun Florida stuff, including FML, Florida or Not, and our hero of the month, plus a brand new segment called Our List Fix. Listen in. Well, now it's time for a little bit of history, as we do every month.
Yay,
and I thought, I know, I do. And I thought, being that we were going to Oktoberfest, we talk a little bit about Germans today.
Go.
Yeah, I mean, we saw a lot of Lederhosen. I may have worn some Lederhosen, which you'll find a picture of in our show notes as well.
You wore them like a champ, Glenn. You wore them like a champ.
I did, yes. They're very uncomfortable. I'm just going to throw that out there. Leather pants that are that thick are very uncomfortable.
And may I also add, it was outside in the heat, and the dressing rooms were not air
1,000
degrees.
It
was hilarious. But anyway,
I don't know how you ever got that dress on.
I don't know either.
Hot. It was
Tools
hot.
were involved.
I pity the poor person who put it on after you. So anyway, Germans in Florida. You know, people of German descent account for almost 12% of the population of Florida.
I had no idea. That's crazy.
I know, and I came from Pennsylvania in Lancaster County, which of course is all Pennsylvania Dutch. It's all German descent. I mean, the whole county is.
That's true.
So it was interesting. It was very it's to do some of this research. Now, I have a couple of quizzes for all of you.
Okay.
The first is, any guess on the top 5 states with the most German population?
I'm going to throw Florida in there just because, and then I'm going to throw Pennsylvania in there because you just mentioned it. And then for shoots and giggles, I'm going to say New York because that's where a lot of people landed. And then I'm going to say, I'm going to totally make it up, Nebraska and Utah. So what did I say? Florida, Pennsylvania, New York, Nebraska, and Utah.
You got none of those correct.
None of them. Darn it.
Now, this is as percent of population,
Okay.
and North Dakota. 43% of the population of North Dakota is German.
That was the other
43%.
name I was going to pull out of my butt, and I didn't.
And then if you've ever been to Wisconsin, you know they have a lot of German population there.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so they're 42% of the population is German, and
in Wisconsin.
Yes,
Are Germans into cheese?
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of beer in Wisconsin too.
That's true.
South Dakota is 40%. Nebraska is 38%. And Minnesota is 36%. Pennsylvania comes in number 10, and Florida is like 30th.
Oh, wow. So our 11.8% population is nothing.
Nothing. Now we're going to test your travel and tourism knowledge.
Oh, God, I should do really well, but I'm not.
So when I took a look at international tourists to Florida currently, to see where how many German tourists are coming over here, I want you to guess what you think the top 5 countries would be in tourism to Florida. And keep in mind the last time we went to Disney World, what was well represented.
Okay, so I'm going to say number 1, Canada. Then I'm going to say China. Just for the heck of it, let's say France, Haiti, and Jamaica. I have no idea, Glenn.
Well,
what did I say? Canada, China, France, Haiti, and Jamaica.
You got number 8. You got number 8 on the list, and that was China.
Okay.
But if you remember, last time we were at Disney World, it was all South Americans. Remember, they're all speaking South American, all speaking Spanish of some sort or former. And it's true. It's what I had this conversation with somebody recently. It's all South Americans at Disney World right now. So it's United Kingdom is first.
I totally didn't think about them.
Yep, they have the most tourists coming over to Florida.
That might? Oh, that's Australia. Damn it, Jemmy.
Brazil is second. Argentina is third. Wow. Colombia is fourth.
I didn't stand a chance completely forgetting about South America.
Germany is fifth on the list,
look at you, Germans. Welcome to Florida.
Mexico is sixth, Venezuela is seventh, and China is eighth. So 5 of the top 8 were South America.
And Canada's not even on there, huh?
Nope, Canada's not even on. They say the number of Canadians traveling to Florida has decreased considerably.
Rhonda, you're doing a terrible job of spreading the word. What is wrong with you?
They said the reason for that is the value of the dollar. Has changed considerably. So Canadians aren't coming down as much. They're actually heading to Europe more. So yeah, it was an interesting article about travel and tourism.
Look at Florida. You guys. Look at everyone. Pay attention. Finding Florida is educational as well as adventurous.
I know. Well, we're going to continue that education here. In 1910, Germans made up 11%. It hasn't changed for 100 years. Of Florida's total white population of foreign birth or parentage, second only to Cubans in the number. Because if you remember when we were in Tampa, talked about the number of Cubans here in Florida in the early 1900s. There was a huge number of Cubans here. But, there were those 2 ugly things that happened in the early 1900s, and that was the 2 world wars. So German Americans were not very well liked. And they had formed many German American clubs, but many of them were forced to close during the world wars. Many Germans were actually arrested. German American businesses also took a hit. So after the wars, after both world wars in the 1950s and 60s, anti-German sentiment began to fade, and Floridians of German heritage openly celebrate their culture once again. And that's when German American clubs started popping up across the state, including Miami, Jacksonville, Cape Coral, Lake Worth, where we were, Castleberry in Orlando, and St. Petersburg. So they started popping up, and the American German Club of the Palm Beaches came about in 1967. 3 friends, all Germans, whose names I'm not even going to try and pronounce here, formed a club, sorry guys, in Palm Beach County, and they bought some land eventually. They called it the Bavarian American Club. Eventually it changed to the American German Club. And they bought some land. Some picnic grounds where they built it. Yes, where we were actually. And they, in 1975, built a new clubhouse. And what they did is they all got together. Members helped dig, pour concrete, donated supplies and money. They even bought cement blocks at $1 each. And the interior of the building is beautifully handcrafted, it really is, by members of the club who were taught in Germany. So
very authentic.
All the woodwork and all that inside that building was all done by German-taught craftsmen.
I mean, they talk about how authentic Oktoberfest is, and who knew that the buildings themselves were also equally authentic.
And you led me perfectly into the annual American German Club Oktoberfest was first held in 1974. Now, it's grown a bit since then, and you're going to tell us a little bit about that.
Well, yeah, so the Oktoberfest in Lake Worth, it actually tops TripsToDiscover.com's list of 9 best Oktoberfests in Florida. So, Glenn, you just mentioned a few different ones. There are so many here in the state. But yeah, we top the list, guys, right in here in Lake Worth. That's the one we went to. And it's 2 weekends, the second and third weekend of October without fail every single year. It's a family-friendly, fun event full of, there's live music, there's folk dancing, people in the most beautiful, colorful German garb. The leader
I was shocked how many were there in dress.
Oh gosh, it's a big thing. People will order and have those costumes literally for that event every year. It's awesome. So, and they have the food, the potato pancakes and pork schnitzels, and and then they have beer that they fly in from Germany. So it's authentic German beer. So yeah, it's huge with the carnival rides and booths and everything. So, and then right ahead of, I think about a month ahead of Oktoberfest is when they crown Miss Oktoberfest every year. So that kind of leads into the big celebration, and it's just,
you'll hear her on the next episode.
Yes,
and she was
Daniela Grunthal. She was fantastic. And I mean, then when I say it's huge, seriously, like 35,000 people go to this thing every year. It's phenomenal.
There were at least that many the night we were there.
Oh my gosh, so many. So like I said, I mean, Oktoberfest is just celebrated all over Florida in all kinds of ways. And actually, some of our homegrown craft breweries have also gotten into the spirit of Oktoberfest over the years. And I actually had a chance, Glenn, to catch up with Doug Fairall. He is from Due South Brewing. He's their brand and marketing manager there. And Due South Brewing is located right in Boynton Beach, just literally like right up the street from me. I haven't been there ever at all. They are Florida grown. They're a craft brewery, and they're just fun. They're inventive in their flavors, and they provide tasty brews year round. But yeah, at the end of summer, beginning of fall, they serve up this delicious Oktoberfest beer. So, you know me, it wasn't enough for me to know, hey, I'm going to Oktoberfest and partying up. No, I had to go to the brewery and get some of this firsthand. So I had to check it out in person. It's a Marsden style lager. It's a 5.4 alcohol percentage, brewed as a traditional German Marsden. And so I reached out to Doug, and he invited me to come in, try a pint. So I sat down with him. We got to hear all about Due South, and I asked about Florida's craft brewery scene. And of course, got to taste their special Oktoberfest lager. So why don't we listen to that interview, Glenn?
Okay.
Oh my gosh. So in this Oktoberfest celebration, we cannot have Oktoberfest fly us by without sitting down with a local brewery. And I am here with Doug Fairall of Due South, and he is the brand marketing manager. Did I get it right?
You got it
yes,
right.
All right. I remember BMM. I can do this.
BMM.
So make
that my acronym.
I know. So he is the brand marketing manager here at Due South, and Due South is a stone's throw away from where I live. And when I did the research and found out you guys have an Oktoberfest brew, I was like, this is amazing. So thank you so much for sitting with me.
Thanks for being here. It's my pleasure.
Of course. So tell us a little bit about Due South Brewing and how you guys got started, and where did this wonderfulness of this place come to be?
Absolutely. So Due South Brewing Company, we started in May of 2012. That's when we opened up our taproom doors.
Yeah.
To our wonderful taproom. Not how it looks right now. It was very different back in the day.
The starter kit?
The starter kit. It was just a walk-in cooler with some taps screwed through it.
There you go.
In this outdoor warehouse atmosphere here. At the time, we were only about I want to say like 15,000 square foot warehouse, and now we've blossomed into a 29,000 square foot warehouse over the last 6 years and change.
Now, has that always been at this location and
it's always expanded? Been at this location, correct.
Gotcha.
So we took over the bay next door, was another marble shop. Got another marble shop.
I was going to ask what used to be here, because it's a warehouse.
There's another marble shop. In this particular spot, I'm not sure, but we've been here since 2012. Started with, like behind you right there is our full system right now, but we started with, I believe, like 2 or 3 tanks. If you find pictures of us on opening day, there's nothing in this warehouse. It's empty. And I mean, there's so much stuff in this warehouse now.
Yeah, I'm looking
Cans,
around and I'm just like,
fermenters,
and you guys are finding unique uses for your barrels. I've noticed there's some potted plants in those.
Yeah, these are barrels that we did use, and you can use them a couple times. These were just empty for too long that they just started to warp.
Yeah, they've outdone themselves. They're on retirement now.
But people love them. It's great.
Well, it's working, and I also like how you can kind of make it your own. I mean, you have your tap room, which is one space, and then you have, what do you call this area behind us where is it the cannery? I don't know what I'm talking
about.
Line?
Our canning line's right behind us. That's basically
my dad would be so ashamed. He was in the beer business for years.
Cannery, I think that's fish. It could be. You don't have any fish here. But we do have really good seafood down here in South Florida.
Yeah. I'm sure your pairings are wonderful.
They are. We have this food truck outside right now, Savory Eats.
Okay.
I have to give a shout out to them.
Yeah.
We just started partnering with them. They're our permanent food kitchen, basically, at this point. They're just parked out there all the time. Lunch and dinner. This guy is absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, let's talk about a little bit more about what people can experience here at Due South, because you walk in and there are games to do. There's the tap room with, tables. Looks like a lot of socializing, people having a good time already. I mean, what is there to do here? There's a lot of open space. I love it.
First time you come, I always recommend just coming up to the bar, coming in the tap room. It's kind of a tap room in a tap room. Finding Due South can be a struggle sometimes.
When you turn at the Sherwin-Williams, it will feel weird, but you're on the right track.
Correct, and that's what I love. I mean, when I this is my local pub, quote unquote.
Yeah.
My local brewery. I live just down the street, like you do.
Oh, do you? Okay.
And I've been coming here since they've opened up. I always thought about it and told people it's kind of like an old speakeasy. You're going to go back behind the marble. There's just marble slats outside the paint, the paint store, and you're going to walk into a weird warehouse.
You're going to feel like it's just not supposed to be there, but it is. And you'll be so happy you found it.
It's so much fun. But beyond the beer, of course, which I recommend just asking our servers, come in with an idea of what you like.
Yeah.
If it's beer or even something else, like your favorite wine, your favorite liquor, they will come up with something, even like food you like. They'll come up with something
really
to
based on your taste,
flavor profile. Yeah,
that is very interesting.
One thing I try to get on them as much as possible is learn all the beer styles, learn like the basics behind them, the fundamentals, what makes them what they are.
Yeah,
and you'll get those kind of parallels. So if you're new to craft beer, this is a place I definitely recommend coming to just learn a little bit.
So my co-host, next time he's in town, I'm gonna have to bring him. So he's not much of a beer person, but you can catch him if you have something that's like fruity. Do you have anything on the line that's fruity?
Right now we do a lot of fruited beers, obviously because we're in Florida.
Oh, you know what I did see? I did see you have a Category 5 that's like a grapefruit flavor or something.
Correct.
Yeah, is it special? Is that special or is that here to stay?
That's special. It's one that so our Category 5 is our most award-winning beer that we produce. It's our double IPA or Imperial IPA. It's an 8.5% alcohol by volume beer. On the menu, we have our Category 3 as well. There's a little theme going on here. We're coming out with our Category 4 very soon.
Okay, all right.
So they grow in intensity in the beer that they are based on the category, kind of like a hurricane, right? So we kind of play a little bit off of that.
The whole Florida theme of hurricanes.
I mean, we have our coastline lager.
Right.
Makes sense,
there
right?
You go.
Our caramel cream, just a descriptive name for it.
Sounds
probably
good.
Our most notorious beer that we do.
Notorious for what? You know what? I don't want to answer. Don't answer that question.
Well, because
what happens in Due South stays in Due South.
A lot of people will know us only for caramel cream, and they'll come in and ask for the Due South.
Gotcha. And when you say you mean caramel cream, gotcha. And these are the beer's sold from like the Daytona, Tampa line all the way down to the Keys, right?
Daytona, Tampa. And then the Treasure Coast. Those are like two little pockets that we do right now.
Gotcha, okay.
And then the Treasure Coast south through Key West.
Okay, all right.
So the entire South Florida area.
And so how do you guys feel about where you came to? Because I grew up in this industry. Well, technically, my dad was in the beer industry. But I grew up in this area. Yeah, I know, right? I grew up in this area, and craft beer was not a thing when I was growing up. It was Budweiser and Miller and Heineken. It was like the most fancy you got. So maybe a Corona every once in a while. So
your import was Guinness.
Right, exactly. So what is it with this new burgeoning scene of craft beer? Where is this coming from?
It's a question. Honestly, I also wrote about some of these things back in the day, asking the same questions.
Yeah.
Where is this coming from? I think it's a change in demographics. People are kind of understanding and having a feel for where their food's coming from. I think that was like the biggest change.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
People are going, well, more of that farm to table.
Yeah.
Getting more of that. Where are my fruits and vegetables
More aware of the
coming from?
ingredients.
What actually is in my food? Reading the ingredients. And they start to go, all right, well, if I know what's in my food, a lot of the stuff doesn't have to be produced somewhere else. It can be produced locally. So I want to start going into that realm, right? So I think that heightened understanding of that then allows them to be introduced to different flavors. Because if they're looking local, well, what's being produced local? Especially in South Florida, we get a lot from the Caribbean, a lot from South America, a lot from even Europe. Yeah. Just all over the country. Everyone kind of comes down here for vacation.
You're right.
And they leave little bits of their culture.
You're right.
When they come and, ask for certain things or do it a little certain different way. And I think that just opens up people's idea of what food and taste and flavors can be, that now once they start to get into these things, now they start to explore and they're a little more adventurous and they're going to go, well, yeah, let me try, I've been drinking Budweiser or Miller or Coors for 40 years, which we get a lot of those people that come here now that are regulars, that they start going, well, let me try that pale ale. It sounds like, hops. I'm not so sure about that. It's really bitter. I hear bad things about bitter beer. But they slowly get kind of accustomed to it. Or they might like really bitter dark roast coffee. And then that bridges them into craft beer because the flavors are a bit bolder and stronger and different. Hot, spicy food. Now they're getting used to that.
Yeah, there's like habanero being used in beers. There's all kinds of crazy stuff. We can use that in beer as well. But that, opens up their mind to say, I don't need to just have mashed potatoes and, meatloaf. Right.
All day, every day. Just bland.
Right.
You can spice it up.
You can spice it up.
Florida, let's spice it up a little bit.
There you go. I like your thinking. Yeah. So let's talk about how we're spicing up with the beer that you've given me. You are allowing me to try this Oktoberfest brew.
Correct.
Yeah. I am so excited to taste this. Tell me a little bit about Oktoberfest while I take a couple of sips.
This is our traditional style. This is probably the least South Florida. And the whole craft beer thing. Everyone loves putting just stuff into beer. This is our traditional German-style Marzen lager, which means it's an amber lager.
It's beautiful in both color and taste.
It's this just amazing kind of light copper color, crystal clear.
Yeah.
Nice bit of beer foam, some lacing on the glass. A bready malt flavor and aromas come out through it for me.
You haven't been writing about beer at all, ever. You're not good at this at all.
The sensory here. What can I say? I like beer. I like to talk about it. It's good stuff. And I like to share. It's something more than just crushing, a 6-pack on an afternoon.
Yeah.
Which certainly we do. You're watching the game. You'll have a couple beers, just not thinking about it.
Yeah.
But there's something to be said for kind of like critically analyzing something to get a little more enjoyment out of it.
Yeah, it's nerding out about it. Nerding out about your craft and what you're passionate about.
It's not movies. It's beer.
Right. No, I love that. I totally can picture a bunch of guys all over America getting into it in their basements or their man caves or whatever and just experimenting and playing around with it. And it's like a hobby that can grow into something like a whole brewery like Due South. Yeah.
Which is exactly what our owner Mike, he's a retired U.S. Army EOD technician, which is really cool.
What is that?
EOD tech, so it's explosive ordnance disposal.
Oh, well, excuse me.
Yeah. Hurt Locker's
does he still have all his limbs and digits?
He does. He is 100%, which is great. So he did, he worked and then he retired. He decided that was a little too much to do as a career fully. The stories that he tells sometimes is absolutely
insane. I can only
insane.
imagine.
They're great.
I can only imagine.
Oh my gosh, they're great. But luckily for us, he did decide to retire. He is from South Carolina. We like to call him sometimes just like the Southern Han Solo. He just has that kind of vibe to him.
Yeah,
which is awesome.
yeah. I got to meet this guy.
Yeah. He's an awesome boss as well. So
there you
if
go.
He's listening,
shout out. There you go. Doug's doing a great job, Mike. Doug's doing a great job.
Awesome. But wine was really what had the flavor and what had the interest for him. And he initially went to make wine at home. That was where he really wanted to start out on. And lucky that the
changed his
homebrew
mind?
store. Well, the guy at the homebrew store basically told him wine takes forever to make. Beer is quicker.
Yeah.
You get your alcohol quicker.
Yeah.
It comes out faster. So, all right, fine. He decided to try it out and started falling in love with all the different flavors that you could produce with beer versus wine. And there's just different flavor profiles you can get from beer that wine doesn't give you, like really bitter flavor profiles. Mike is a hop head. He really loves his hops. It shows in most of the beers that we produce here. A lot of the beers that we produce here, very hop focused, which is great. I'm a big fan of hops as well. But I think, you can't really get that bitterness from wine.
And doesn't have the bubbles.
It doesn't have the bubbles, right. There's something refreshing about a carbonated beverage. I hear you. There's something about it, yeah. And the allure of, I think, wine still has that, it's kind of sophistication kind of thing going to it, which beer can have to that degree, but at the end of the day, it's a working man's beverage.
Yeah, beer's less intimidating.
It's less intimidating.
Yeah,
for the most part. I would say there's times it can get intimidating. You get into those, double barrel aged imperial stouts in bourbon barrels with et cetera,
Yeah.
in big bottles, and they're.
So tell me about how long it takes to craft something like Oktoberfest. Is this a repeat? Is this? How about I say this? Does this show up every year? Do you have?
It is.
Okay.
It does. It does. It does. It's all the things. We brew this once a year for our Oktoberfest celebration.
Yeah,
for
which
that
was
Oktoberfest.
the end of September.
End of September.
Now let me ask you a question.
Yes.
No, I know I don't know a lot about Oktoberfest,
Right,
but I would
right.
assume Oktoberfest would be in October.
You would think that. However, the Germans who created the holiday
originated
in the
the
first place,
thing.
the Bavarians, I should say, more specifically.
Right.
At the time, it's if I'm remembering my facts correctly, that's my caveat here. It's for the Prince of Bavaria. It was his wedding, basically his wedding festival. He did get married. I want to say it might have been October at the time, and then there was a calendar shift, and now it's at the end of September all the time.
Okay, now I see what you're saying.
It's something like that. But yes, Oktoberfests in Germany
and we're
are traditionally
celebrating
held
to
in
this
September.
day. Man, I hope my wedding's as big of a deal as people are celebrating
Right.
around the world to this day. That's
But
amazing.
I think the best part about it, though, is that we can say, well, technically, it's in September. And then we also have the month of October to say, well, it's Oktoberfest. So it kind of gives us a little extra.
You guys kick off the whole entire thing.
Yeah.
That's what I feel like. You stop at Due South.
Yep.
You kick off the whole entire thing.
It's great. Yeah, absolutely. No, kick it off. Just live here. I don't know.
Now,
Have some
Oktoberfest
beer.
is originally available in August, as early as August. Is that true?
Can be.
Yeah, it all depends.
In can package. The last couple of years, as I'm sure you've seen, the whole thing about pumpkin creep getting earlier and earlier. Pumpkin beers coming out in July.
Everything is coming out already.
Last year, I think we did a late July release on both our Oktoberfest and our Alamogordo. It's our pumpkin beer.
Okay.
And a lot of it has to do with just the market.
Gotcha.
It's a whole logistics thing of we have to get it produced to go to our distributor, to go to chain stores, to make it so that you just like displays and things like that. It's just a whole wheel of
So there's science behind the
logistics.
craft and science behind the operations.
Right.
And all
There's a
comes
whole
together to figure
operations
out.
thing.
Yeah.
This year, luckily, we were able to kind of wait till about mid-August to late August to release everything. And I think that was better. I mean, we still have, and my goal is to have our pumpkin beer around for Thanksgiving. Because traditionally, when I enjoy my pumpkin beer is Thanksgiving because it's too darn hot.
I know, right?
Before that,
I agree. Feels weird.
But Oktoberfest, honestly, I would drink any day of the year. Personally, it's one of my favorite beers. I'm not just saying that because we're having it tonight.
It's good.
I've been telling everyone that comes up, what do you drink? The Oktoberfest.
What's the percentage on this thing, by the way?
5.4.
Okay.
Or
All right. So I have about
5.5.
3 more minutes before I totally start slurring my words. I got
Yeah,
it.
okay. All right. Get some pretzels or something. We got a food truck outside. It's all good.
Oh my gosh. Thank God I live close.
I say it's exactly. You just Uber. It's fine. Or Lyft, depending on who you're.
Exactly. No preference.
But yeah, the thing I love about Oktoberfest is it's crisp, clean, clear, and we do a lot with this beer to condition it, to cold condition it.
Okay.
So it's a lager. It's basically what a lager means is it's cold conditioned for a while. I believe this was about 6 weeks. It's usually about 6 weeks, give or take, to cold condition our lagers.
Wow.
Which just lets it sit, mellow out, everything come together. You ever made like a sauce or a marinade? not big on cooking. All right.
No, sorry.
Well, those of you at home,
hate to admit, Mom.
if you've ever made a sauce or marinade at home, you know when you put all the ingredients together.
No, I have. About
okay.
3 Thanksgivings ago. See,
Perfect.
it's timely.
Draw back. Think back 3 years ago. You're making this. You put all the ingredients together, right? And once the first, you do it that first 5-10 minutes, they're just kind of getting to know each other.
Yeah.
Right? You get half an hour in, an hour in, 2 hours in of it just all simmering.
A couple of them start to dance.
They start to dance.
Yeah.
They start to
Loosen up a
exchange
little
some
bit.
numbers. And before you know it, you got this really nice, flavorful sauce, right? That to me, I know people are like, what's happening here? To me, that's how I like to describe the lagering process. Is we're letting the beer get to know itself.
Yeah.
Everything's just kind of coming together, getting together, forming a relationship, and that makes the beer just so nice, so enjoyable, very crisp, clean, and clear.
There you go.
The 3
there
C's
you go.
that I love to see in beer.
I love it. Well, those are the 3 C's. Tell us what your WWW is. So when people want to come and find you guys, check out your beers on tap and
That's right.
check it out for themselves. Where they go.
DueSouthBrewing.com. Our website's updated. We have an actual live tap list, which is great because our tap list here at the tap room changes very frequently.
Yeah.
Our guys back here will just start putting stuff together, and we'll have mango category 3 IPA, or we create some sort of new. I know, like
try that one.
a Dunkelweizen's coming out very soon, which is a Dunkelweizen, right?
Dunkelweizen,
a German dark wheat beer.
Oh,
talking about this Oktoberfest side, we're doing some more of these traditional German beers. We have our Hefeweizen on right now. We got really cool stuff coming on. But yeah, DueSouthBrewing.com.
Well, Doug, thank you so much.
Thank
it's been
you.
a real pleasure talking to you today.
Pleasure
and I
on my
appreciate
end as well.
your Oktoberfest here at Due South. Thank you.
Of course, you're very welcome.
Due South, cheers to great hops and to great beer.
Oh, I loved talking to Doug. It was very informative interview. He was another one of those where
No alcohol involved.
No. Oh, yeah, right. There's totally. Man, I had to cut quite a bit of the interview down just for time. So whenever we kind of finally decided to put together a People of Florida montage episode with our full interviews with certain people, he's definitely one I want to include in there uncut because he was great. But I have an extra treat for you and everyone listening from Doug himself, and he has no idea that he's even part of what I'm about to do here. So, Doug, I hope you're still listening. But how about a quick lesson in German, Glenn?
Okay.
All right. Well, in my digging around about Oktoberfest, I found a video of Doug Fairall himself learning some phrases in German at this same American German club of the Palm Beaches, but it was back in 2015 at their Oktoberfest. So I want you to try to guess what he is learning to say here, okay?
All right.
All right. So play that first clip.
What's a German phrase you know that you can share with everyone?
Du haben Sie Scheiß in deinem Kopf.
Du haben Sie
Haben Sie Scheiß in deinem Kopf.
Scheiß in deinem Kopf?
Yeah.
No, Scheiße, of course.
Yeah.
Right, of course.
Yeah, that's not the PG version either.
That means I'm drunk off my ass.
Well, so Scheiße is probably the only German word I know. So it's a big clue. Scheiße is the one that I had to bleep out what it means because it's the S word. Okay. So do you have any other guesses?
I'm drunk off my ass, wasn't it?
No, that's not it. Okay. Let's play the isolated clip one more time for the listeners if they want to try to hear it.
Du haben Sie Scheiß in deinem Kopf.
Okay.
I don't know what the S I'm saying.
That is a good guess. Well, let's see what it really means, Glenn. Go ahead and play the second clip.
What does that mean?
Shit in your head or something like that.
What's it? What did you say?
S-bomb in your head. Why is that a German phrase that Doug is learning? I don't know, but hilarious. I could not try to repeat it. Can you play it one more time? I just want to hear it now that we know what it means.
Du haben Sie Scheiß in deinem Kopf.
Apparently means S-bomb in your head.
It sounds like he's saying Scheisen.com.
I know, right? Scheisse.com. I bet you that's a site. I do not recommend anybody
look
look it up.
No. Well, you have to tune in to 13B to hear all of that fun that we had, which will come out in a day or two. It'll be on all of your feeds, and you're going to hear the adventures that we had at Oktoberfest, eating a giant hamburger, and me torturing Jemmy with a surprise.
Yay. Based out of Miami, Gamertag Radio is all about video games. Since 2005, hosts Danny Godfrey Pena, Paris Lilly, and Peter Toledo have been gathering all the latest news and coverage related to the gaming industry and delivering it straight to you. Join them for their twice-weekly award-winning podcast and check out their website, which they've grown to one of the largest and most respected gaming information sites on the net. Get the interviews, roundtable discussions, and freshest gaming coverage you crave. Danny, Paris, and Peter give you the latest news from Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo, exclusive content, developer interviews, VR coverage, and more. Download and subscribe at iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, or any of your other favorite podcast players, or visit gamertagradio.com. Gamertag Radio, simply everything you need to know in gaming. You don't want to miss this. Well, before we get to everything else that's going on in the state of Florida, just a quick update. Now, if you recall, Glenn, way back on episode 9A, I revealed the last 2 remaining states that we have yet to have a listener from. Do you remember what those 2 states were, Glenn?
Hawaii and, North and South Dakota.
Very close. It was Wyoming and South Dakota. North Dakota has been well represented, I'm very proud to say. Well, you can, it's like 1 or 2 people, whatever. Well, you can, you can cross Wyoming off the list because we got one.
Yay, Wyoming.
Yay for Wyoming!
One of the most beautiful states. See, the reason we don't have any Wyoming is they don't want to come to Florida. They have a beautiful state on their own.
But they can still listen while they go explore their beautiful state, whatever. So that just leaves you, South Dakota. Come on, people. If you have friends in South Dakota, tell them to tune in.
And the easiest way to tell them about us is to tag us on social media. You can look us up on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at FindFL Podcast. You and all your South Dakota friends will be able to follow our adventures in real time, or look us up on YouTube using the full show name, Finding Florida Podcast, where we post behind-the-scenes footage when we remember.
When we remember. Guess what time it is, Glenn?
What time is it?
It's one of my favorite times. It's time for us to find out more fun stuff about the state of Florida.
Florida, where you get school credit for learning to water ski.
FML. Florida. Ugh, my life. Well, we get these reminders every once in a while living in Florida of just how teeny tiny and insignificant we are. They're called hurricanes. And Hurricane Michael was no joke.
Yeah, Michael was the 3rd most powerful storm to hit the continental U.S. since they started keeping track, and the most powerful since 1969. And it was the most powerful hurricane to hit the Panhandle. And certainly we've all seen the videos and pictures of it. It's just devastating up there.
Total devastation. I mean, we're thinking about everyone who suffered losses, property, friends, family, and all of our friends up in the Panhandle, especially everyone who welcomed us to Tallahassee on that trip. That was a great time. And so we're thinking about them and keeping them in our thoughts and prayers.
I noticed yesterday there's still bucket truck caravans heading north.
I believe
from here in Ocala.
I completely believe
Yeah. Well, we're wishing them all a speedy recovery and hope to have an update from one of our friends up there on a future episode. See how things are going.
Yeah, exactly. But in putting this episode together, I couldn't help myself. I was in the mood for an ill-timed, ill-conceived, and probably inappropriate moment of levity after the hurricane. I mean, laughter is the best medicine, right? So I've had this meme on hand for a while, and I wanted to read it now on behalf of everyone recovering from Hurricane Michael. So it goes, please be nice to post-hurricane people. For the last week, we feel like we have packed, moved, camped, built a house, done major landscaping, spent money on stupid bunker food, and found ways of cheating death, all the while being told we might die very, very soon. We haven't slept. During this time, everyone in other states calls, messages, and texts with helpful advice that we know already. Some lost income and some were robbed or worse. The low pressure gave us all headaches. Also, our kids have been out of school for days and looking at us like we are insane. Tread lightly. We are one taco short of a combination plate, and it's Monday. Tuesday? Wait, what day is it?
Everybody who lives in Florida can relate to that, too.
We can all relate to that. I mean, we were there last year for Irma. These poor people are right there right now going through the thick of it with Michael. I mean, yeah, it's tough. So everyone, please be nice to post-hurricane people. We know not what we do.
Finding Florida's list fix.
Since we are celebrating the show's anniversary this month, yay, first anniversary, I thought it would be a fun time to introduce a brand new segment called Our List Fix. Basically, it's a list segment. Glenn, on one of your other shows, Horses in the Morning, you do a segment called Crappy List Wednesday, and I'm basically stealing your bit. But in this segment, the list won't necessarily be crappy. I will let the listeners judge, but for the debut of this brand new segment on our anniversary episodes, let's start with a checklist of apparently odd Florida must-sees to see which ones we've hit on our adventures and which ones we should be adding to our list. Ready?
Ready.
Well, if you open up that list there, Glenn, you'll see the very first thing on the list looks very familiar.
So these are 12 odd South Florida sites.
That's right.
All right. Well, we've seen a lot of odd sites.
We have. And some of the sites we've made odd by just showing up.
The Mai Kai restaurant and Polynesian show. I wouldn't call that odd. That was fun, but it was kind of odd in Florida.
It was unusual. I mean,
especially its location right in the middle of a freaking city.
I know. You feel like you're in an island, but then you're right in the middle of downtown Fort Lauderdale. Let's see. Next on the list, Christ of the Abyss statue. Now, I've heard of this thing, but for some reason, I didn't realize. I thought this was in South America with all those other countries I forgot about.
There is one. It's above Rio.
That's
on
true.
top of the mountain.
I thought the undersea one was also in South America, but no, it's right off Key Largo, and it's called Christ of the Abyss statue. So, got to go check that out.
I think you have to scuba dive to see that. So we're probably both out.
Both out, unfortunately, and it's not
because
of my
lung
hair,
issues
people. It's my lung. It's my lung, not my hair, that keeps me from skiing.
Although we have never been allowed to do anything that involves water because of her hair, so don't let her tell you that.
Not completely untrue. Okay, next on the list is something actually that I talked about back on one of our very early I think it was like episode 5A. Yeah. It was 5A because it was signature.
It was
Key
the
West
cruise episode.
Yeah, that's right. So we talked about this next one. It was Robert the Doll is a super creepy and like possessed doll that you can see in Key West. So the line forms to the left, people. The creepy Robert the Doll. All right. Have you ever heard of this next one?
Shark Valley Everglades National Park. I've never been to Shark Valley. We've been to the Everglades several times.
See, this is why I'm confused. It's called Shark Valley, but the sharks are on the coast. Everglades has like the alligators and stuff. So I'm wondering where this name came from.
I don't know. We'll have to check it out one of these days.
We'll have to check it out. And the next one we're familiar with too as well. What's the next one?
Yeah, the Jungle Queen that goes through Fort Lauderdale, right?
Yeah, I think that was on our same adventure that we checked out the Mai Kai. We got to check. We
had fun. We went to have dinner at the island and did all that stuff.
Yeah, so at Mai Kai you got to feel like you're on an island, and at Jungle Queen you got to actually go to a real island.
And you get to go through some of the ritziest, biggest boats in Fort Lauderdale and biggest houses.
Some of the houses are ridiculous that we coasted right by. It was crazy. All right. I'd never heard of this one either, but this is the place that this is found is on our list, Gulfstream Park. Did you know there's a huge Pegasus there?
I did not know that. And I've never been to Gulfstream. We have to do that one of these days.
And the picture on here is very confusing because it looks like there's a dragon in front of it. Doesn't it look like a dragon?
Yes.
So I'm very confused. There's a dragon and a Pegasus at Gulfstream Park, apparently, that we need to check out. And now this another one, I was a little surprised to see on the list, but I kind of get it. Now, I think I've mentioned to you that there is a drive-in theater nearby me. It's also in Lake Worth, where we just were running around, and it is at this place called the Swap Shop, which makes the list. Now, the Swap Shop is this big, it's a swap shop. It's a,
flea market.
Flea market. Thank you. I was like, fly market doesn't sound right. Flea market. And it's been there forever, but they have an actual drive-in theater still. When's the last time you saw a drive-in theater?
They have 12 screens at the drive-in theater.
It's big. It's
14
really...
screens. Oh my god.
Is it really 14? Wow.
It says 14 screens.
It's a big one. When's the last time you had
I wonder if you can park in the middle and just watch all 14 movies at once.
Probably have to crank your neck a little bit. And you might get a little confused because you probably have
to
pump in like 14 different radio stations to make it work.
Flea market looks huge.
Yeah, we should go check it out at some point and add this to our adventure list for sure. So the next item on the list, I still don't quite understand why it's a big deal, but I guess for the ladies out there, this would be a big deal. It's all shoes, $9.88. There's a shoe store where every shoe costs.
Have you ever been there?
$9.88.
It's a ridiculous name for a shoe store.
I don't think I've ever been there.
It says they have 100,000 pairs in stock.
That's crazy.
There's a lot of $9 shoes.
Well, it's easy to do your inventory. It's just 100,000 times $9.88. All right. And then there's this way. That one was in Deerfield. So this next one
is in Fort Lauderdale.
A lot of stuff that's really close to me, it looks like, on this list. But Bob's News and Books. It's a newsstand. I guess newsstands are kind of outdated, but I think I've seen newsstands every once in a while still.
It says it's one of South Florida's wildest alternative bookstores. I'm not exactly sure what that means.
Well, it says one of a kind gem brimming, Glenn, with weird, strange, and wonderfully unique and controversial titles. I think we just found our answer.
Yes, we have to go there.
All right. Now, this next museum, we need to tell them about the place we just went to on this last adventure. So... Burger Beast Burger Museum. A burger museum, Glenn? Have you ever heard of this?
No.
So this
is in Miami.
Yeah, it's in Miami. So we need to call up Beauty and the Beef and tell them, listen, you need to contact the Burger Museum and get the epic burger in there somehow. But yeah, there's a whole museum on burgers. I actually remember the commercials for this 1980s looking glassware from McDonald's with like... with the Hamburglar and all these characters. I remember the commercials for that glassware. That's so crazy. But yeah, they feature it at this museum. And I think one of the last things, okay, 2 more things on the list. Now, this next one, Glenn, I think you're all about this one. I think you need to go and do a special episode, and I just need to sit
What
there
do you mean,
it.
me?
I just need to sit there and film it. Hey, if people found you getting a pedicure entertaining, this will be off the charts.
It's the Russian and Turkish baths in Miami Beach. Did you know about this one?
I did not know about this. And it said, the website says, and I quote, "Come discover an unexpected paradise." Well,
I think you're going to discover something. It has pictures on their website of people being hosed down with these big fire hoses.
I need to get
they're wearing clothes
footage of hopefully the clothing is optional. I need to get video footage of you being salt bathed, whatever kind of bath.
They have a lot of stuff. They have a warm rain room, an infrared sauna, a polar bear sauna.
Okay.
Do you actually get attacked? I don't know what that is. Yeah. So that's a place we might have to check out when we hit Miami. We haven't hit Miami yet. That's on our list.
We have
very
not
shortly.
Hit Miami, and this next one is very close in Homestead, Florida. It's right outside of Miami. Pretty much, I think it's still part of Miami-Dade County. And it's called the Coral Castle. And this one's been on my list for a long time. This is one of those when you go to the Turnpike rest stops and they have the big kiosk of pamphlets and things, you almost always find a Coral Castle pamphlet there. And I've always wanted to check this thing out. This has been around since it says here from 1923 to 1951. It was single-handedly and secretly carved from over 1,100 tons of coral rock by one guy named Ed. So I think that's fascinating. We have to go check out the Coral Castle. But yeah, so that's a list, our very first ever list for this new segment. And it's called Our List Fix. And we got our fix in today. Today, Glenn, I bring you the tale of two mothers and their children who wanted tattoos.
It's always a good plan. How old were they? 2, 3?
Oh, you'll hear. So the two stories for today's Florida or Not segment, they feature two very different parental reactions to their kids who are very determined to get themselves all inked up. So the challenge today, Glenn, is for you to figure out which one of these is the Florida mom. You ready?
You know how we talk about our differences, too, on the show?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have no tattoos at all, and Jemmy has a bunch.
I have
another difference.
7 and counting. I'm counting.
You have a bunch of tattoos.
I do.
So this is another difference we have.
This is what happens when we're previously engaged to tattoo artists.
Well, that'll do it.
Okay, play the first story.
Only on Local 10 News will you hear from a mother who says her son came home from school with permanent ink on his hand.
That boy insists he got that tattoo at school. Local 10 News reporter Amy Viteri has this exclusive story now from...
Sherelle Buckman couldn't believe it when her 14-year-old son, Trey, came home from school Tuesday with these permanent tattoos marking both of his hands. What's worse, he told her he got them at school, courtesy of another student.
I mean, I just don't condone the whole tattoo thing. He's only 14.
According to Trey, another student, also a freshman, was posting on Instagram about having needles and ink, offering tattoo services.
After school, we went to the back of the school by the pool.
And sanitary about that.
She attempted to tattoo that hand, show him that hand. The young lady did this hand, and my son did that one because he said she messed up, so he did the other one himself.
Sherelle
has two bad
to the school on Thursday, and we're told officials questioned both Trey and the other student about what happened. Trey insists that he likely wasn't the only student who was a customer.
After I did the tattoo on my arm, she was just like, hurry up, because I had to give it to other people. She was taking it around the entire school.
Student's mother says she is not taking any chances. She is taking her son to the doctor, understandably concerned that needle could have been used on someone else.
We used to sell squirt guns to make money in school.
Right? What happened to the good old days? Jeez. So obviously this mom was less than pleased that her son came home with not one, but two
Very
crappy
less than
tattoos.
pleased.
So does that sound like a Florida mom to you?
Oh, yeah, definitely. So.
All right, well, let's see. Let's hear the second mom story.
A mother has been arrested after she took her
this is Florida.
10-year-old son to get tattooed by a teenager in very unsanitary conditions. According to TV station, 34-year-old Nikki Dickinson allegedly took her son to get inked after she grew tired of him asking. Court documents show the 16-year-old who gave the young boy the tattoo often does so from his home without wearing gloves. The boy's mother was charged with first-degree misdemeanor child endangerment and contributing to the delinquency of a minor.
Okay, so I'm confused which mother got arrested. Was it the mother of the boy bringing it to the other boy to get a tattoo, or the mother of the boy?
This mom brought her son to a 16-year-old's house to get tattooed, and that's why she got arrested.
Is there a license? Do you have to be licensed?
Yes, you have to be licensed. There are sanitary
So the mom
regulations.
of the 16-year-old tattoo artist should probably be arrested too.
Probably. All right. So which do you think it is, Glenn? The
Oh, it's
mom
not-
in the
okay.
first story who was upset with her son, or the mom in the second story
I think
who
definitely
took
the
her
mom.
son to get the jailhouse
If it
tattoo?
involves getting arrested, it's Florida. So I think it's number 2.
No, you're wrong.
What, really?
Actually, the one who
Wow.
got arrested was from Ohio. It was actually the Florida mom in the story being the responsible mom who got mad at her kid and dragged him to the doctor after he came home with 2 crappy tattoos on his hands. I mean, come on.
You know what surprised me about that, and I don't know why it should have, but the first story, it was a girl given the tattoos.
Yeah.
That just kind of surprised me.
I know, it's not really what
I wasn't expecting that.
No,
No.
I wasn't expecting, but you know
And
what?
she's like, hurry up, I got to finish this. I got more people to do. I'm sure it looked
She knows
great.
how to turn on the charm. But the good news, so obviously
And she ran to the sanitary bathroom sink in the girls' bathroom at the high school to clean her needles.
No, the truth is, and we all know this, ladies, our bathrooms are way worse than dudes' bathrooms.
Yes, it's true.
Ew. ew. But the good news for Florida is apparently kids are just dumb everywhere because both kids in the story really wanted these really crappy tattoos. But I don't know if I'm one to talk because I got my first tattoo when I was 15. So yeah, we're just dumb.
Did you have permission? Really?
Oh, I'm sorry, Mom. I have to out you. Yeah, my mother took me, but she took me to a reputable actual tattoo.
I'm kind of surprised, actually. I know.
Like, I'm surprised you're not on the floor, passed out after that news. But yes, my very strict Haitian mother.
So what tattoo did you get when you were 15? Please don't tell me it was like a naked lady in a skull and crossbones.
No, it was a closed rose. And the only reason I got my parents to agree to take me is because I explained to them that, and this is actually true, but I explained to them it was because I wanted it to remind me to stay virginal. And my dad couldn't get my ass to tattoo shop fast enough. So there you go.
You know, and I know all of you are waiting for the next logical question, and I am not asking it. So we're going to move on now.
It worked for a period of time. There's the answer. This month's hero. All right, Glenn, I want to introduce you to a hero to animals during Hurricane Michael. This person stepped in and just saved the day. So are you ready to hear about this hero, Glenn?
Yes.
All right. Well, please play the first clip about Robin and Partners for Pets.
One woman had the guts to do what others would not do during a storm.
WTVY's Lindsay Smith takes us inside what's left of one Mariana animal shelter and shows us how this woman risked her life to save others.
We're not lucky, we're blessed. Give credit where credit is due.
Meet Robin Eidlet, a volunteer at Partners for Pets who risked her own life to save animals through Hurricane Michael.
The first tree that fell by the shelter, it nipped the side and totally missed it. So I was excited. I went out there and I videotaped and I'm like, praise God, this tree fell and it missed the shelter.
But then
the one tree crashed through the shelter. And I'm thinking to myself,
okay, what do you think she was thinking to herself, Glenn, when the tree crashed through her shelter?
I'm not as blessed.
I think it's even better than that. All right, let's hear for ourselves.
And I'm thinking to myself, oh my gosh, what would Ellen DeGeneres do?
Where did that come from?
Isn't she amazing? I was like, you've got to be. I love her. I want to package her up and bottle her. She's fantastic.
Ellen, where did that come from?
Well, she's going to explain. Let's listen to the rest of
Ellen
Robin.
would give away a car.
No, let's listen to the rest of Robin's story. She has her reasons.
Oh, okay, good. I hope so.
Everybody knows because she's all into animal charity that Ellen DeGeneres would run out in the storm during the eye of the storm that's been going on for on and on and on, and she'd get those animals.
Not one, not two, but 3 trees fell on the kennels behind me, and Robin worked by herself throughout the hurricane to get those animals to safety.
I got very, very scared. Not scared of dying, but scared of a tree falling and hitting me.
After rescuing 4 dogs from the shelter, Robin waited for the rain and the wind to cease.
They said that this was going to be a fast-moving storm, and it's like taking forever and ever and ever.
Doing what they can with what they have, more help is needed.
We need manpower, we need women power, we need all the help we can get.
Robin says this is not the last time she would risk her life to save an animal's.
Yeah, I would do. That's the best high in the world. I don't drink. I don't do drugs. I don't smoke.
In Mariana, I'm Lindsay Smith, WTVY, your hometown news leader.
I love you, Robin. Oh my gosh. We need to hang out immediately. She is awesome. I loved her. And man, we're going to post a link to the actual news article that has the video clip, because when you see the expression on her face, I mean, it's a whole different experience to just hearing it. She's fantastic. So yay for Robin.
Wow, they're lucky. Some, those dogs survived 3 trees from the shelter.
I know, 3 trees, and she managed to save all those dogs. So good for you, Robin.
She wasn't scared for her life, but she was scared of being squished.
We need someone needs to tell her that could also
yes, it can result in their life. Yeah. Yeah, I thought about that, but I didn't want to ruin her fun. So.
Oh my gosh. Well, thanks for coming along with us once again as we are finding Florida. There's just so much fun to be had at Oktoberfest celebrations throughout the state. And you just got a sneak peek into our fun at Oktoberfest by the American German Club of the Palm Beaches for our anniversary, which will all be coming out next.
Not only did we have fun at Oktoberfest, and especially meeting Miss Oktoberfest and her friends, but we also went to Beauty and the Beef and tried the enormous Epic Burger, and you're going to have to see whether we finished it or not. Jemmy and I took it on together, so we'll have the results of that. And I tortured Jemmy with a surprise that kicked off our great one-year anniversary adventure, and I liked doing that surprise thing so much, I think we're going to do it every time.
Okay, well, just know that more snakes are in your future. I will come back with more surprises, and they will be snakes every time. Well, for our adventure next month, we'll be finding some classic Florida holiday magic. Details are still being ironed out, so check in with us either on findingfloridapodcast.com/nextadventure or join us in the FPN Insiders group on Facebook to be the first to know. And as always, remember to head to our website to check out all of our adventure photos. And with that, we will say...
Here's to your next Florida adventure.